My name is Laura White. I'm a mother. I'm a businesswoman. And I've always been the quiet one in the family. The one who didn't speak up much. The one who kept the peace. The one who swallowed her feelings so others didn't have to be uncomfortable. But that day, that Thursday afternoon, when I walked into my parents' house and heard them screaming at my daughter, everything changed. It wasn't just yelling. It was cruelty. Cold, calculated cruelty. And the worst part wasn't the words. It was the laughter that followed. Laughter from two little girls who should have known better. My sister's daughters, raised to believe they were better, more deserving, more valuable. And my 6-year-old Lily. She was just standing there, tears in her eyes, holding a wet plate with both hands as if the weight of the world was in that porcelain. That moment didn't break me. It woke me up. But before I tell you what I did, how I made the decision to stop paying for the roof over their heads, I want you to understand something. This wasn't revenge. It was revelation. And it was long overdue. Let me take you back to the beginning, because the cracks were already there. Long before I heard them call my daughter useless, they just hoped I'd never see them. I was the second child, the quiet one. My older sister, Julia, was the golden girl. She was the one who followed the plan, got married young, had kids early, stayed close to home, and my parents adored her. They'd beam with pride at every school award her girls brought home. Oh, they're just like their mother, Mom would say. They're going to do great things, Dad would nod. And then there was me, the career woman, the one who moved away, built a tech startup from the ground up, bought her own house, had a baby on her own after a difficult divorce. I didn't do things the traditional way. So to my parents, I was different. Not in a good way. Just different enough to be loved less. For years, I tried to ignore it. At family dinners, I was always the one who brought the food, paid for the wine, covered the cake. But the credit? That always went to Julia. She'd show up late with a pie she bought from the corner bakery, and somehow she was the thoughtful one. I was the one who had too much money to know what matters. And yet, when my dad lost his job in 2015, guess who paid off their debts? Me. When their mortgage was at risk of default, guess who quietly arranged with the bank to cover it? Me. No thanks. No recognition. Not even a conversation. Just a text from Mom that read, "Well, I guess it's handled now. Julia said you'd probably take care of it." Probably. That word still stings. Like they just assumed I'd keep fixing things they broke, because I always had. But not this time. This time they crossed a line they couldn't come back from. Not because they insulted me, but because they hurt my child. Not because they hurt my child. Lily is the kind of girl who still gives hugs like they're gold, who says thank you when you give her extra whipped cream, who writes notes that say I love you, Mommy, forever. And that day she stood in my parents' kitchen, scared, crying, trying so hard to make them proud, trying so hard to be enough, just like I did once. And I saw myself in her eyes, and I promised her with my silence, never again. It was supposed to be just a visit, a simple Thursday afternoon visit. Mom had called earlier in the week and asked if I could stop by. She said she missed Lily, said they hadn't seen her in too long, said she'd made her famous chicken pot pie. I hesitated. Something in my chest told me not to go. Not today. But then I looked at Lily. She had drawn a crayon picture of Grandma and Grandpa's house and put a little sun in the corner. She missed them. She missed what she thought they were, not who they really were. So I packed up the muffins we'd baked the night before, helped Lily into her favorite little yellow dress, braided her hair, and we left. The drive was quiet. The air felt thick, like something was waiting. Lily stared out the window, humming a song she'd made up herself. She looked peaceful. That peace wouldn't last. When we pulled into the driveway, she suddenly looked unsure. She clutched her bunny plush, the one with the stitched ear. "Mommy," she said. Her voice was small. "Will they be nice today?" "Mommy," we're small. "Will they be nice today?" That question cut me in a way I can't fully explain. I smiled, because that's what I was trained to do. "Of course, baby," I said. "They love you." But even as I said the words, I wasn't sure I believed them. We walked up the front steps. The porch was the same as it had always been. Faded paint, potted plants half alive, wind chimes that made a rusty sound. I knocked and no one answered. So I opened the door. The house always smelled like overcooked onions and lemon-scented cleaner. It still did. "Mom?" I called. No answer. Then I heard the voice. Sharp. Mean. "You useless girl. I told you to wash the dishes, not break them." My heart stopped. I froze. Then I heard it again. My father now. She thinks she's a princess or something. She better learn quick. Then came the laughter. Cruel. Mocking. I stepped into the kitchen. And there she was, my Lily. Standing on a little stool, her sleeves rolled up, her small fingers holding a dripping wet plate. Her eyes were red. Tears fell silently. Her bottom lip quivered. My mother stood beside her, arms folded. My father sat at the table with a coffee mug looking irritated. And at the corner, Julia's daughters, Hannah and Kate, giggled, pointing, whispering. "She looks like a little servant," one said. "She's so slow," the other laughed. Lily was shaking. Her tiny hands tried to scrub the plate faster, and all I could think was, she's 6. She's 6 years old, and they were treating her like she was nothing. "Lily," I said. My voice was calm, but it echoed through the room like thunder. Everyone turned. Their faces fell. Mom stammered. "Oh, Laura, I didn't hear you come in." My father cleared his throat. "She was just helping." "She wanted to help," Mom added. I walked over and gently took the plate from Lily's hands. Her hands were cold. I dried them with a napkin. Then I knelt down and hugged her. She collapsed into my arms like she'd been holding her breath the whole time. I stood up, turned to face my parents, and I said just 4 words. "She's not yours." That was it. I didn't yell, didn't curse, didn't argue. I picked up Lily, held her close, and walked out. As we were leaving, I heard Julia's voice from the hallway. She wasn't upset. She was annoyed. "You're being dramatic again, Laura. Again." That word. Like I was the problem. Like my daughter being humiliated was just another overreaction. I said nothing. I opened the door, put Lily in the car, and drove away. That evening, Lily didn't talk much. She sat on the sofa with her blanket, watching cartoons, but her eyes didn't follow the screen. She kept blinking like she was trying not to cry. I made her mac and cheese, gave her warm milk, read her 2 bedtime stories instead of 1. She fell asleep hugging me. And when she finally whispered, "Was I bad, Mommy?" I held her tighter. "No, baby. You were perfect." That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at the edge of my bed, going over every word, every insult, every laugh. And I realized something. It was always going to be this way. They never respected me. They never respected her. They didn't deserve either of us. And the thing they valued most, the house I paid for, was the one card I still held. So I played it.
I didn't tell anyone what I was going to do. Not even my best friend, Alina. Not my lawyer. Not my accountant. Not even Lily. Because what I was about to do wasn't just a reaction. It was justice. Justice for years of belittlement. Justice for being the invisible one. Justice for a little girl who cried into my chest while 2 grown adults called her names.
That night, I sat down at my desk, opened my laptop, pulled up the mortgage account I had been paying for the past 6 years. The numbers stared back at me. Every payment on time, every cent mine. They'd never missed a due date, not because they were responsible, but because I was. And they never once said thank you. They never even offered to contribute. My sister once joked at Thanksgiving, "Well, Laura pays for everything, don't you, sis? Might as well be your house." Everyone laughed, even my parents. And that laugh stayed with me. So I went into the bank system, removed the auto debit, clicked cancel future payments. And just like that, I stopped paying. The house was theirs now, and so were the consequences. The first month passed. No one noticed. They probably assumed the bank had taken the payment like always. A second month went by. Still nothing. Then, in the 3rd month, the first letter arrived. My mom sent me a photo of the envelope with a text, "Some mistake with the mortgage company. Do you know anything?" I didn't reply. 2 days later, Julia called me. Her voice was tight. "Mom and Dad said you haven't been paying the house." I stayed silent for a beat. Then I said calmly I stopped. She exploded. "What do you mean you stopped? That's their home." I took a deep breath. Exactly. It's their home. It's time they take care of it. There was silence. Then Julia sneered. "This is because of what happened with Lily, isn't it? You're punishing them over something stupid?" I felt the rage rise in my chest, but I didn't yell. I just said she's 6. They humiliated her. And you let your daughters laugh. So no, I'm not punishing them. I'm protecting her. Then I hung up. 2 weeks later, I got an official notice. The foreclosure process had started. The house was going to be seized and auctioned within 30 days. And I didn't stop it. Not this time. No rescue, no charity, no last-minute deposit. They had always treated me like a wallet with a voice they didn't want to hear. Now they'd have to hear me by feeling the silence of that empty bank account. Then came the phone call I'd been expecting. My mother. Crying. Hysterical. Begging. "Laura, please, your father is sick with worry. We're losing everything. We'll be homeless." I held the phone in my hand, staring at the floor. And I asked her one question. "Do you remember what you called Lily?" Silence. Then, "Laura, we were just disciplining her." "We didn't mean," I cut her off. "She's 6. She thought she did something wrong. She asked me if she was bad. Do you know what that feels like?" More silence. Then the most pitiful, manipulative line I've ever heard. "We're your family." I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and I said, "You lost the right to call yourself that the moment you yelled at my daughter for not scrubbing a dish fast enough." Then I ended the call, and this time I blocked the number. Days passed. The bank listed the house. It went up for public auction. I didn't attend. Didn't even look at the listings. But I heard from a friend that it sold fast. To a nice couple in their 30s who were starting a new life. I smiled at that. A new life should begin where old cruelty ended. After the house was auctioned, the silence was deafening. No calls. No texts.
Not even from Julia. And that was fine with me. Peace was finally starting to grow in my home. Not the kind of peace that comes from avoidance, but the kind that grows in the light of truth.
I could breathe. And more importantly, so could Lily. I noticed little things. She wasn't waking up with nightmares anymore. She wasn't afraid to make mistakes around me. She wasn't asking me if she was being good every 5 minutes. She just smiled more, laughed more. She was becoming a child again, not a scared little soldier trying to survive around people who looked at her like a burden. One afternoon I took her to the park. She was running near the swings, her yellow dress billowing like sunshine in motion. I sat on a bench nearby, just watching her. My heart was light, and I realized in that moment I didn't regret anything. Not cutting them off, not stopping the payments, not watching their world fall apart, because I had done it for her. And for once I had done something without seeking their approval. I had chosen myself. I had chosen Lily. That night I got an email from Julia. Subject: congratulations. You got what you wanted. I opened it. It was short, bitter, full of the same venom she'd always carried. You really let them lose the house. Do you feel powerful now? Do you feel like a hero? I didn't reply. There was no point. People like her never understand, because they've never been on the receiving end of silence. They've only ever used it as a weapon. The next weekend, I got a knock on the door. It was unexpected. I peeked through the window. It was my sister's daughters, Hannah and Kate. Both of them standing there with uncertain eyes and wrinkled jackets. No sign of Julia. No sign of manipulation. Just 2 kids who looked like they'd walked a mile carrying guilt. I opened the door slowly. They stood still. No mocking. No smugness. Just silence. Can we talk to Lily? Hannah asked. Her voice was small. Kate was holding a piece of paper, a drawing maybe. She's upstairs, I said cautiously. What do you want to say? We want to say sorry, Kate said. Her eyes were watering. We were awful. We laughed when she was scared. We didn't know she cried at night. Mom never told us. She said Lily was just sensitive. Something about their tone, it wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't fake. They looked tired, older, and not just because of their age. So I called Lily down. She came, holding her stuffed bunny, her hair messy from her nap. When she saw the girls, she froze. Her body tensed. But I gently placed my hand on her back. It's okay, sweetheart. They just want to talk. Hannah took a shaky breath. We're sorry, Lily. We were mean. We laughed at you, and it wasn't right. Kate stepped forward. We brought you something. We made it last night. She held out the drawing. It was a picture of 3 girls holding hands with the sun in the corner and the words, "We are sorry, Lily," written in rainbow colors. Lily stared at it, then looked at me, then looked back at them. And all she said was, "Okay." Not a full smile, not a hug, but a beginning. That was enough. They stayed for hot cocoa. They laughed a little. They asked Lily about her favorite cartoons. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't healing in a day, but it was something new, something honest, something I wished I had ever gotten from my own parents. But some cycles end. Some stories are rewritten, and some kids get the mother I never had. That night I watched Lily sleep, peacefully, her bunny tucked under her arm, and I whispered a silent prayer, not to get something, but to give thanks, for the strength to walk away, for the courage to break ties, for the love that demanded better from my daughter, and for the reminder that blood means nothing when it bleeds you dry. A week after the girls came to visit, something unexpected arrived in the mail. It was a plain white envelope. No return address. Just my name written in shaky handwriting. I knew that handwriting. It was my father's. I stared at it for a while. Something in me didn't want to open it, but I had to. I took it to my bedroom, sat down by the window, and slowly opened it. Inside was a single piece of lined paper, folded twice. And when I opened it, I found the shortest letter I've ever received from him, but also the most honest. Laura, we lost the house. I didn't think you'd really stop paying. But now I see why you did. I didn't know Lily was hurting like that. Your mother won't say it, but I will. We were wrong.
I don't expect forgiveness. But I thought you should know, we're not okay. I don't just mean the house, I mean everything. We miss you. I miss you. Take care of Lily. She deserves better than what we gave her. Dad. I sat there holding the paper, feeling like I was reading a letter from someone who had finally woken up after being asleep for years. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't enough to undo the pain. But it was a start. A small crack of light in a long, dark hallway. I didn't know what to do with it. Part of me wanted to write back. Another part wanted to tear it up. But I didn't do either. I folded it back, placed it in a box with Lily's drawings and the photos I kept from when things were still okay, and I left it there. Because not everything needs a response. Sometimes it's enough to just know. A few days later, I found out from a mutual friend that my parents were living in a small rental on the outskirts of town. Not a nice house. Not terrible either. Just modest. They didn't own it. No garden. No big porch. Just a roof over their heads. The same kind of roof I had given them for 6 years without so much as a thank you. And now? They had to wake up every morning and know they lost it. Not because of me, but because of how they treated the one person who loved them unconditionally. Lily. One afternoon, while shopping with Lily, we passed by a little girl crying outside a store. Her mom was yelling at her for dropping something. Not hitting her, but yelling. Lily looked up at me, her face solemn, her voice quiet. She's scared, she said. I knelt down and asked, how do you know? She looked down at her shoes. Because that used to be me. And my heart shattered. Again. Not out of rage this time, but because I realized how deep the scar was, how long it would take for her to believe she was safe, how much work I still had to do as a mother. That night, I pulled out a notebook, and I wrote her a letter. I wanted her to read it one day, maybe when she's 16, maybe when she's grown, but I needed her to have these words, so she'd never doubt them. Not for a second. Dear Lily, you are not useless. You are not too slow or too quiet or too sensitive. You are exactly how God made you, kind, thoughtful, gentle, and brave. What happened at Grandma and Grandpa's house? That wasn't your fault. That was about their brokenness, not your worth. And I promise you I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never forget how loved you are. Not just by me, but by the world you are going to change someday. Love, always and always, Mom. I sealed it in an envelope, wrote her name in pink ink, and tucked it in a box labeled for when you need it most. Because healing isn't always fast, but it's always possible. 1 week later, I received another envelope. This one was from the mortgage company. It was a standard document. A final record of foreclosure. At the bottom was a balance sheet. $0 remaining. The debt had closed. So had the chapter. I stood at my kitchen counter holding the paper and took a deep breath. There was no joy, no triumph, but there was peace. Real peace. The kind that only comes after doing something hard. Something right. Months passed. Seasons changed. Spring turned into summer. And in that time, something in me began to shift. The anger wasn't gone. Some wounds leave shadows, but it no longer controlled me. I had reclaimed my life. My peace. My daughter's sense of safety. I started to laugh more. Not the polite laugh you give at family dinners when you're masking pain, but real laughter. The kind that bubbles up from a place of freedom. Lily flourished. She started painting. Big, bright murals of sunshine and animals and purple clouds. She made new friends. She started sleeping through the night without calling out for me. She stopped looking over her shoulder. She stopped asking if she was being a good girl. She just was, unapologetically herself. And every time I watched her skip through the house singing her made-up songs, I knew I had done the right thing. One day, out of the blue, Lily asked, "Mommy, do you still miss them?" She didn't say who. She didn't have to. I looked at her gentle face, those soft eyes that still held pieces of what they tried to break. And I answered honestly, "Sometimes, yes. But I don't miss how they made us feel." She nodded, as if she understood more than I gave her credit for. Then she took my hand. "I don't miss them. I just love you." And in that moment, every scar they left behind was covered in gold. A few weeks later, I passed by their old house. The couple who bought it had painted it blue. There were flower boxes in the windows, a swing on the porch, children's bikes parked on the lawn. It didn't look like the house I had known. It looked happy. And I smiled, not out of bitterness, but because something new had bloomed where something broken used to live. Isn't that what healing is? Not just cutting people off, but planting new roots in soil they once poisoned. One evening, as the sun set and Lily played in the yard, I sat with a cup of tea and finally allowed myself to write something I hadn't before. Closure. Not for them, but for me. I wrote a short letter. I didn't send it. I didn't need to. But I wrote it all the same. To the people who raised me, I tried to earn your love for years. But I finally realized love that must be earned isn't love at all. It's control. You used me as a safety net, then discarded me when I asked to be seen. You looked at my daughter and saw only inconvenience. And now? You live with the echo of your choices? I forgive you, but I will never return to you. Because I am free. She is safe. And we are healing. Goodbye? I folded it, placed it in the same box as my father's letter, and locked it away. Not out of pain, but because some chapters are not meant to be reread. They are meant to be closed, so we can write better ones. Now, when people ask me about my family, I smile, and I say my family is small, but it's filled with love. Because Lily is enough, because I am enough, because no matter who tries to tell you otherwise, you do not owe anyone your silence. You do not owe anyone your dignity. And you are allowed to walk away even from those who raised you if staying means shrinking who you are. To anyone out there reading this, have you ever stayed quiet to keep the peace even when it hurt you or someone you love? And if so, was there a moment like mine where you finally chose yourself? Tell me your story. I promise I'll listen, because your truth deserves to be heard. And you? You deserve peace too.